Good evening, world. I'm your host, Ayush Kar, back with another fresh episode of the Tech Titans podcast, a place where we discuss different tech related topics and how old and new technologies are helping change the face of the world. A few days back, I read a new study about how humans expect AI to be benevolent and trustworthy, but at the same time, they're unwilling to cooperate and compromise with machines. They even exploit them. This put me in a train of thought about the word AI itself. Only a few people know what the term even means. We often hear about how big companies like Facebook and Google are feeding data into AI. But what does the data and AI signify here? And how big are the consequences, if any, of this data collection and AI processing? To answer some of these questions today, we have Dr. Harish Kumar, a keen STEM researcher and engaging professor who has authored 100 plus research manuscripts, including 4 patents and 2 technical reports, delivered 40 plus lectures during various events across the world, chaired 15 plus sessions in national and international events, and organized 15 plus conferences, workshops, and training programs. He's also heading projects having budgets of millions in various fields, which include machine learning and data processing. Welcome to the show, sir. Can you tell the listeners a bit about yourself?
Thank you, Ayush. Thanks for the nice description. Yeah, so about myself, I am currently working as professor in computer science and engineering in Punjab University in Chandigarh, which is located in northern part of India, just 250 kilometers away from New Delhi. And I have completed my PhD research from Punjab University. Thereafter, I started working in the university, and currently I am working on 3 different projects. One in which we are trying to apply technology, including AI, machine learning, sensors, IoT particularly, into the health sector, and another we are trying to apply the similar technology into the agriculture, which we call agriculture 5.0, which includes precision agriculture as well as artificial intelligence in agriculture. So these are the 2 things right now I'm involved. But before that, in the last 20 years, I worked on different technologies like uh, technology for the farmers in the country, then technology for the improvement of education in our country, then for the development of skill and personality development of the countrymen. Uh, in the last couple of years, we have also developed a product named Nasanchar, which is essentially a telephone exchange for voice over IP, which is IPv6 compliance and which is approved by Government of India to be launched in India recently with the help of Ministry of Electronics and IT in Government of India. This product is also available commercially in the Indian market. And apart from that, I have also worked on ad hoc networks, information retrieval, and applying the technology into different arenas. Apart from these research areas, I worked closely with different institutions like IIT Ropar, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, and co-founded a laboratory named Telecommunication Research Laboratory in my university, where Government of India is participating along with some of the state governments in India, participating for developing the technology. And then my team includes some of my colleagues, professor colleagues in the department, and the students who are pursuing the master's or the researchers who are pursuing their PhD degree in our laboratory. There are number of alumni from our laboratory who are working in the different arena, and currently 8 scholars are working in that laboratory along with the certain master students. Yeah, thank you.
It's fantastic to have you on the show, sir. So let's start with clearing up some basic definitions surrounding the hot cake in the market. What, according to you, sir, is the meaning of the word AI as it is used in the modern day contemporary context?
Basically, artificial intelligence is not a new term, first of all, although it is a big word nowadays in the society as well as in the industry. But uh, scientists, researchers are trying to use artificial intelligence since ages. They are trying they are trying to use the human intelligence and trying to embed that human intelligence into the machine since decades and ages. So if I look at the current context of artificial intelligence, we can say it is the capability of any machine. It can be a computing machine, it can be a non-computing machine, or a computing-based any other industrial machinery which has certain capabilities. Capabilities including the capabilities of reasoning, capabilities include the capability of learning from the situation, planning, and then giving certain creativity out of the learning. So basically, artificial intelligence based on the learning, based on the reasoning, based on the data collected over the years, give certain recommendations in certain domain specific area where the people working in that domain can solve certain problems either to ease out the situation or to work more efficiently or to work you can say without wasting a lot of raw material or by giving certain precision to the processes which are already existing. In this context, I quote one example. For example, in the health sector, there are two specific areas. One is the wellness, another is the critical care. If I look at applying artificial intelligence in the wellness area, then we are most of the time using certain kind of bands on our hand, which is monitoring periodically your heart rate, your body temperature, and certain other parameters, which give a wellness perspective about a person who is wearing that band, as well as collecting the data over the years. But if I look at the artificial intelligence in the critical sector, in the critical healthcare sector, then it becomes a lot of precise and there is need of lot of number of trials. So if I talk about the modern day contemporary context, so context needs to be defined. If the context lies in just the feel good factor, then the artificial intelligence based systems are quickly available. But if the artificial intelligence in the critical domains or in the core sector, in that case, artificial intelligence needs to be tested a lot before applying that artificial intelligence into that particular sector. Yep.
That is a wonderful gist of it, sir. I have always seen the terms algorithms, machine learning, AI being used interchangeably, but I think it's good for the general layman to have these definitions sorted, especially considering the fact that we are so surrounded by them. Related to this, can you give us a few examples of how AI or machine learning is actually being employed in our day to day daily life? How connected are we really to AI? For a general person like me, where can I see the examples of AI being used in my daily life?
So I will quote certain examples. First of all, if I look at from the citizen perspective, there are two set of citizens. One is those who are using some smart gadgets. Gadgets like previously quoted a band to monitor the health. That is one of the gadgets.
Yeah.
Gadget means the smartphone which I am carrying, which is also recording my data. And other set of citizens, those who are not using any gadget, but are interacting with some kind of system while availing the services available in any country. So from both the contexts, I will give certain examples. So from first of all, from the first category of citizens, where the citizens are gadget friendly, Now, if I'm wearing some smart device, then I'm recording certain parameters and storing those parameters.
Yeah.
And then those parameters are recommending certain things to me through either apps on my mobile phone, through email system, through WhatsApp system, or by sending my data to my doctor or etc. Then if I'm using my smartphone, for example, let's say I'm traveling from my city to New Delhi. If I'm using Google Maps, again, Google is recording all my coordinates, uh, through which location I have passed while traveling, what was the speed of my vehicle, in which stress my speed was higher, in which stress speed was appropriate, and where I have stopped to eat something, where I have stopped to get the fuel. So all the parameters are recorded into that system. Now, once I traveled on the same route as individual a number of times, then the AI system there can give me the suggestion that
Yeah.
your this hotel is approaching, your this gas station is approaching, you are today faster than the previous trip, you are faster than the average, uh, your average speed, etc. So in that way, AI is helping the gadget-friendly citizen. In another case, when the citizen is not gadget-friendly, in that case, wherever the citizen is going into availing any of the citizen-centric services, that citizen is interacting with that particular system. Means the data of that citizen is fed into the system. Now that system is analyzing on the back end that what kind of services the citizen is availing, why the citizen is availing, so accordingly suggesting certain things to the policymakers. Then another kind of example, for example, I'm visiting the restaurant. Then, by looking at my previous history of the location, it can suggest the menu, it can suggest the nearby restaurant. I will quote one particular example which happened with me. Once I was visiting a market to buy a bicycle. So I
Okay.
visited two, three shops and but did not bought any cycle. Then I came back. In the meantime, while I was visiting the shops, neither I received the call nor I make a call from my smartphone.
Yeah.
But my location was on. And once I reached the home, in the evening, I started receiving the advertisement related to the bicycle. So this is precisely how artificial intelligence is used in the marketing context. And then if I look at the health sector, then AI is used to recommend a person when to take the medicine, whether there is a need of medicine, whether there is a need to visit a doctor. And if I look at the agriculture sector, AI can help the farmer by analyzing the previous data, what may be the demand of uh, the market in the next span of 1 year or 6 months, so that accordingly the farmer can sow the crop. That can be one of the component. Another, recently we have used AI to identify the fire locations in the farm field. For example, in the northern India, it is prevalent that during the summer, sometimes there is a farm fire which destroys the crop. And to detect that, what we did, we got the data from satellite, which is data of the images of the field. Then we also deployed certain sensors to continuously collect the data. And by analyzing the level of gases in the environment, by analyzing the image pattern, we recommended uh, to the agricultural development officer that precisely where a fire incident is located in the farm, so that immediately the corrective action can be taken and the damage can be reduced. So these are some of the examples in the different arena in the agriculture and health and the citizen-centric services. Then there are other examples like in the transport sector, in the financial sector. For example, in the financial sector, artificial intelligence may be used to detect fraudulent transactions. In the transport sector, it can be used, for example, all the autonomous vehicles, they are heavily dependent on artificial intelligence to decide in which direction to go and how to avoid an accident or a collision.
Yeah, wonderful. It amazes me how the simple things we use in our daily lives have their basis in AI. Even the song recommendation that an app like Spotify gives us are based on AI. And as you said, Tesla Autopilot is another example of world class AI. But only a few people know that even small things that often go unnoticed by us can be based on some kind of prediction algorithms and artificial intelligence.
Yes.
So nowadays, people are taking AI to be a magical key for every issue. Do you think
Yes.
there are situations where companies and organizations just throw the word away without it meaning much? And they are not using AI, but they're just slapping the word AI on for marketing and publicity.
Yeah. See, if you look at the serious use of artificial intelligence, it can impact a lot. But yes, sometimes the companies create a bubble around the artificial intelligence. But yes, it's not exactly the bubble. Uh, at least a starting point which gives an impact, maybe a small impact, and thereafter, whenever it will grow, then it can give a bigger impact in the core domain working area of that particular company. So companies usually are not creating a bubble. Like for example, if I look at the startups in India since last 15 years, there are a number of startups who use the concept of artificial intelligence, but some of them have a huge growth, although they remained in loss for a number of years. But once they became successful, then the investors of those companies earned a lot by offering initial public offers, IPOs in India. For example, recently Zomato is coming up with IPO
Yeah.
in India. So Zomato is expecting to earn a lot of profit through IPO, and it is heavily dependent on AI. Similarly, Ola in the transport sector in India is coming with IPO and expecting a lot of profit through IPO. So they are also heavily dependent on artificial intelligence. So it's exactly not like that companies are creating a bubble and companies are just using it a buzzword. Uh, the companies who are really experimenting with artificial intelligence, those companies and organizations are growing in this competitive market. But the companies or organizations, those who are just using the artificial intelligence as a buzzword, they are not growing after a limit, or either they are collapsing. I should say they are collapsing after some certain amount of time. So it has meaning. Artificial intelligence has meaning because nowadays we are having machines who can do the computation quite faster. For example, if we will be having the machines with uh, light as a signal to transfer the data on the board, on the chip of the computer, then the computation power will tremendously increase. So in that case, the large amount of data can be processed in small amount of time. So then it reduces the number of expenditures by the companies and organizations, which give a growth signal to that company. And moreover, new business arenas, new platforms like platform of Flipkart, platform of your transport sector companies, etc., are coming up. So the situation right now is that everybody is trying to use artificial intelligence, but only the serious players who are actually using the artificial intelligence for their business purpose, for benefit of the society, are growing. Yeah.
I agree. Artificial intelligence is, I would say, plain inefficient when a problem can be easily solved using simple mathematical equations as well. Oh, mathematical equations remind me, isn't AI just based on calculus?
Uh, yes, you can say it is based on statistics and calculus. So basically, uh, huge data and number of computations in small amount of time, that gives intelligence. Then the logic, the reasoning, basically. So exactly, precisely, if I go to the historical perspective, we can say it evolved from mathematics, and then uh, by basically focusing on the faster computation mechanisms in the electronic chip. So both combination of both, you can say.
Right. I'm sure some of us have also heard terms like data sets, regression models, neural networks, etc. But what basically goes into creating a functional artificial intelligence?
Yeah. Basically, if I look at, first of all, we need to understand that what is functional artificial intelligence. So, uh, initially, artificial intelligence is supposed to give recommendation, and human is supposed to take the action on that recommendation. But if I look at the functional kind of artificial intelligence, then what it means essentially embedding the equations into a system which can take the active action based on the result of that particular artificial intelligence algorithm. So basically, it's not reactive. Functional AI is uh, active and take instantaneous action on the recommendation. So basically, the number of algorithms, the equations, writing the logic is same. The endpoint, which is that instead of recommendation, the machine itself should take the corrective action. That becomes the functional AI. For example, when I talk about autonomous car, then in that case, the car is receiving, or the central processing unit of the car is receiving the data from all the sensors, all the cameras, etc., which are embedded in that car. Then, after analyzing that data, artificial intelligence can do one thing, that it can recommend the owner of the car that how to operate that car. That is a recommendatory system. That is basically artificial intelligence, traditional artificial intelligence. But when we talk about autonomous, then it has to take the action also. Action in a sense that it has to either change the lane, either stop the car, or accelerate the car, etc. So that becomes functional AI. That AI is feeding the system in such a way that the system is taking the action on that artificial intelligence. Similarly, if I talk about healthcare sector, now when we talk about wearable wellness devices, in that case, collection of the data, when it goes to the doctor, doctor can see that my patient's blood pressure is fluctuating between this range since last 2 months.
Yeah.
And then doctor has to take the action whether to advise a medicine or not to advise a medicine. But if I take it one step further, that those values are automatically fed into a system which is advising the patient instead of the doctor. The system itself is advising the patient that whether you should take the medicine or not take the medicine. That becomes functional AI. Similarly, for example, the patients who are diabetic.
Yeah.
Nowadays, the insulin is injected into their body through an automated machine.
Mm.
So the machines are available which decide that what amount of insulin to be injected in that diabetic person. For example, a person when took the food, maybe insulin requirement is lesser. If there is a gap in intake of the food, insulin requirement may be more, etc. So the machines which have the artificial intelligence, they calculate the body requirement and automatically pump the insulin into the patient while patient is performing their normal duty. So that becomes your functional AI. So basically, uh, the AI-based recommendation and thereafter the decision of the system to take up an appropriate action. That becomes your functional AI.
Okay. And if I think in terms of programming, how do you actually create this functional artificial intelligence? We all know that there is some data which companies are connecting. How does that
Yep.
data transform into a functioning artificial intelligence model, just like you said, which can take action on its own? What is this middle process which most people are unaware of?
So, very good question. Basically, if I look at the from the user perspective, I have quoted an example of insulin.
Yeah.
Now, uh, it means I need a sensor which is continuously monitoring my body's insulin level. So continuous means it is doing after some time interval. The time interval can be 5 seconds, time interval can be 5 minutes, time interval can be 1 hour, set by the patient or as recommended by the doctor.
Hmm.
So after every time interval, it will take a reading and feed it, collect that reading and feed it into the system. So now, if let's say it is taking a reading after half an hour, then in the full day, it took 48 readings. If I'm
Yeah.
using that machine from, let's say, 1 year, then I have 365 into 48 total number of readings for
Hmm.
a patient. And along with that, I have the timestamp with each reading on which date and at what time that reading had been taken.
Yeah.
And then already I have the data like patient's gender, patient's age, patient's other parameters.
Hmm.
So by analyzing all those values and the current insulation level, I can recommend a dose. Now, once the dose is recommended, then there's requirement to operate that machine to pump that much of insulin into the body. So for pumping that, what you need to do, you need to write a program there which will take input from the AI algorithm, input in terms of that how much dose is required, which is a number, and
Hmm.
that program will then operate that sensor-based machine.
Okay.
So basically, it is like programming a machine, programming an embedded machine. So that machine is already fitted with some kind of sensor and some kind of, let's say, stepper motor or some other motor, small motor. Then you need to do that programming because that machine will have a separate set of APIs and your AI algorithm is just acting as a black box for that particular machine and giving an output of a number. That number
Hmm.
is the amount of insulation to be fed into the body. And now
Yeah.
that number will be used by the second machine, the software of the second machine. That software may be written in any language like embedded C or Python or any kind of language. Most likely it is written in the embedded C kind of language, which is an embedded language.
Yeah.
So then that parameter is fed into that system and that machine will operate and feed that much of insulin. Yep.
That is really wonderful, and it gives a great insight about how data sets are modeled into a black box kind of a device which can feed into other embedded systems, just as you said, and create what we call as functional artificial intelligence. Another thing I wanted to point at was the other side of the coin. So recently, there has been a Facebook Cambridge Analytica data scandal where Cambridge Analytica was accused of collecting personal data of millions of Facebook users without their consent, predominantly to be used for political advertising. Basically,
Right.
what they did was they acquired this data via a third party app created by a researcher at Cambridge University's Psychometrics Center. The app gave Cambridge Analytica access not only to the data of the users who downloaded the app, but also the data of their friends on Facebook. So a question which naturally arises in my mind is, what does the data that this app collects consists of, and how do they form an AI around it? Also, do you think that this AI data collection for AI is ethical? And if it is not ethical, how do we make it ethical?
Yeah. Very good question because we use lot of apps in day-to-day life. For example, you quoted social media apps like Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, thereafter Instagram, etc. So number of apps we are using, number of platforms we are using for social interaction. Now, what those apps do, first of all, if you while you create an account on those platforms, there is a policy. You have to agree to that policy.
Yeah.
First and foremost is that all the social media platforms have a policy that whatever the content you create on that platform, that becomes their intellectual property.
Hmm.
For example, if I load my photograph on my uh, Facebook page, then what? After that, once I have uploaded on their platform, it's not my intellectual property; it is the intellectual property of the
Facebook.
Facebook
Hmm.
company, right? So now there are a couple of kind of data which is uploaded on these Facebook platform, these social media platforms. Like for example, the data which you are intentionally uploading,
Hmm.
you are aware of you are aware of that you are uploading your data, for example, your photograph, your video, your comments, thereafter your location, etc.
Hmm.
When you know that you are uploading. Another set of data is your friends are uploading or your connections are uploading, which you may not be aware of.
Hmm.
For example, you went to a party, then two, three of your friends together click the photograph. One of your friends have uploaded on his or her page and tagged to you,
Yeah.
right? Another is the third person who is not even connected with you
Hmm.
is collecting your data and uploading on these kind of platforms. For example, you are traveling somewhere and someone was clicking the photographs and just you came in the frame and it had been unintentionally uploaded or sometimes intentionally also.
Hmm.
So basically three kind of data about any person is uploaded on the these social media platforms. Thereafter you have a number of connections and what the artificial intelligence does, artificial intelligence finds out the influencing nodes in the network. For example, uh, if I look at my social media account, then there are approximately 2,000 connections on my social media account. Now, out of 2,000 connections which are directly connected with my account, so if I consider myself as a node and other 2,000 as a node, then how much influence I can have on those 2,000?
Hmm.
Maybe out of 2,000 for with 10 or 20, I am interacting on a regular basis. For another 100, I may be interacting once in a month. For another 1,800, I may not be interacting.
Hmm.
Now, the social media company can do the analysis that who are the nodes, who are my connections with whom I am interacting frequently,
Hmm.
and about what I am talking with them, because I have shared comments through that social media platform. So what essentially it means, it can influence my decision making. That's true. That's very much true, and it is also happening. But why it is happening? Because of the greed of the human.
Hmm.
Because the humans want to influence the society, so they are influencing the system. So it's quite true that it has the biasness, and this biasness is not only due to the current social media platforms. It dates back to the technology days. For example, when the television came into picture, at that point of time, the advertisement industry came into picture,
Yeah.
electronic advertisements. So the electronic advertisements were influencing the decision of the people who were watching the TV.
Hmm.
So that was also a biasness. That was also a biasness, creation of the biasness in the society. And now through social media, because now everything is in your hand, you have everything in your smartphone.
Hmm.
So the biasness, the same tool is in your hand and can create biasness in the real time.
Yeah.
However, there are efforts for ethical use of AI.
Hmm.
So, although the corporate sector say that everything is ethical till you are earning some money. If you
Yeah.
are not earning money, then ethical and unethical will not be there, right? So there is very blurred line between ethics and non-ethics. Now, for example, you quoted about Cambridge Analytica.
Hmm.
Uh, Now, Cambridge Analytica, while collecting that data and analyzing that data and providing number of jobs to the people who are working in that particular company, say we are doing the ethical work because we are providing job to number of people, we are doing just the data analysis. But uh, from some other countries' perspective, it can be unethical because it is influencing their citizens. So, what is ethical for one person can be unethical for other person.
Yeah.
So, due to that blur line, although we cannot exactly say that what is ethical and what is unethical, but yes, while these companies, while doing something, they must inform the user that this is
Hmm.
what we will do with your data. And I am 100% sure that 99% of the users in case of social media platforms did not read their guidelines before signing up with them.
Yeah,
And
I quite agree.
usually I say that whatever data is created in the electronic form, it will not be deleted ever from that digital storage. Why?
Hmm.
Because, for example, I have just tried to remove some of my social media accounts. Although temporarily these have been removed, but while I logged in after 4 5 months, again the same accounts revived.
Yeah.
So it means from the back end these were not deleted. And another issue comes in the social media space. Uh, for example, in India there are uh, 7 billion people who are using the social media.
Hmm.
Now people are also dying. So Facebook after 30 years will be graveyard of dead accounts.
Yeah.
LinkedIn will be graveyard of dead accounts because
Hmm.
after a person dies, his or her account becomes a graveyard. No one is operating until
Yeah.
unless that person has not shared the credentials with
Hmm.
someone or not have nominated someone for that particular account.
Hmm.
So the ethical things uh, needs to be discussed, needs to be brought into these systems. At least these systems can start with this ethic that they should advertise their policy clear cut and with the same, you can say, acceleration and with the same intent with which they are advertising the usage of their platform.
Hmm.
Only then the citizens can be aware of. Otherwise, definitely the technology is influencing the society. Yep.
Yeah, I agree with your solutions, and the last one, which you said, promoting their data collection policies with the same vigor as they're promoting their features, is a great ethic for companies and for the users to be aware. I think incorporating anonymity in data collection to a certain extent, which I think with the current technology can be done, is also a good compromise between companies needing data for serving ads and making profit and the users wanting their data privacy to be respected. Now, I will stem away a bit away from the sunshine and glory of AI. So, according to you, is there any dark side of AI? Do you think things things in bias in AI can lead to the whole system being counterproductive?
Yes, on the surface, if I look at, then biasness can create the bad things in the society. But society is so diverse that it automatically corrects that biasness. Now, for example, net neutrality right now is the buzzword in technology.
Yeah.
So now society is aware of that neutrality is required. But if I look at the usage of the technology, then obviously a company will say that why we will keep on providing you the free services for your
Hmm.
lifetime, from where we will earn the revenue, right?
Yeah.
So from where we will run those companies.
Hmm.
So there are dark sides. There are dark sides like someone can hack into your systems, can do the data analysis, and thereafter can damage the entire society. Even controversies around COVID-19 are there. For example, in India, there is the biggest data biometric database of the citizens in the shape of Aadhaar
Yeah.
numbers. So
Yeah.
while getting an Aadhaar number, all the citizens give their biometric data. So
Hmm.
that is the biggest repository in the world. Now, if someone starts using artificial intelligence on that data and start predicting certain things, can damage the
Yeah.
society as well. But some other person can say that it is also benefiting the society at the same time.
Hmm.
So there is a race between biasness and unbiasedness, ethical and unethical. So it can damage. It is double-edged sword, we can say.
Oh, yeah.
It can damage as well as it can benefit. But the choice should be in the hand of the user.
Hmm.
User should be aware of. If user wants that, yes, the system or the AI should recommend me certain things, then definitely the user should be served in the same way. But the awareness among the user is required. And world over, the organizations are working for the awareness only,
Yeah.
pressurizing all the technology companies to keep their users aware of that what are the data they are collecting, what are the way they are using their data. Yep.
I would, after what you said, I would also like the users to know about one really special incident of AI going rogue, which scares me, which is Facebook having shut down an artificial intelligence engine after the developers observed that the AI had created its own unique language that humans can't understand. So the
Yep.
researchers at Facebook AI Research Lab found that the chatbots had deviated from the script and were communicating in a new language developed without human input. But as you said, again, if we are respecting the ethics surrounding AI, the cases where it will innovate are massively more than the cases where it can break and cause havoc.
Yep.
So, where do you see this technology going in the future? Are we looking at innovations like personal robots like Sophia, or are we looking at AI being adopted by traditional industries like the medical industry and transport industry, as you previously stated.
Yeah. So basically, like you quoted the example of chatbots. Now, chatbots can be quite helpful also.
Hmm.
For example, we are using chatbots for the purpose of reducing the burden on the doctor in the healthcare sector.
Yeah.
Uh, there are Government of India, Department of Health has recommended 52 tests to be done on a patient.
Yeah.
And while visiting a doctor, uh, usually doctor monitor 8 parameters to screen the initial level problem.
Hmm.
So now, if we can develop a machine which can monitor those 8 parameters, and before visit of the patient to the doctor can send the value of those 8 parameters, then doctor will be ready with the diagnose.
Yeah.
So, or alternatively, while a patient visits a doctor, doctor usually take the patient history.
Hmm.
So the patient history can also be taken by using chatbot.
Yeah.
So the patient can just interact with the chatbot either by typing the answers or by the way of voice, by
Hmm.
answering the question by voice. So that chatbot can be helpful uh, in the countries like massive countries like India, where doctor to patient ratio is quite less. So in that case, it can reduce the burden on the doctor. So in that way, technology is quite useful. Yes, technology will or the AI will definitely lead to both of the things, like personal robots. Yes. For example, if I talk about my smartphone nowadays,
Hmm.
it has more capability, it has more computation power than the computer which took the first human to the moon.
Hmm.
So what it essentially means, every citizen who is using a smartphone has enormous amount of computation power.
Yeah.
So the personalized computation devices or robots will also be there in future, as
Hmm.
well as the industries. Industries are particularly focused on reducing the wastage. For example, nowadays every industry is under pressure that they have to do the sustainable development.
Yeah.
Now, industries switching over to 3D manufacturing, industries switching over to zero waste manufacturing, industries switching over to reducing the human intervention. So, all those cases, AI is used. So, be it the manufacturing industry, be it the transport industry, be it any other kind of industry. So, the AI is entering into the industry to mature level. So reducing the wastage, helping reducing the you can say number of steps in performing a task, automating the things, automating the decision making, taking that AI into the functional AI level, etc. So industry will use it as in a mature way, and while the citizens are using the same AI or the same personal gadgets for their mental satisfaction. For example, usually I ask my students a question in the class that you have a smartphone with you, which may have 128 GB of the memory.
Hmm.
Now, just find out that how much of that memory you are using for storing your study material,
Yeah.
and how much memory you are using it for the entertainment purpose,
Hmm.
or how much of your gadgets uh, sources you are using for your core working area, and how
Hmm.
much is for your entertainment or your daily life,
Hmm.
right? So most of the time the computation power is used for the entertainment purpose rather
Hmm.
than your daily tasks or daily life activities. So the personal gadgets will be like making your body comfortable or to entertain yourself.
Hmm.
And in the industry, it will be mature use of AI, definitely.
I really am very hopeful for this technology. As you said, it is certainly not a new one, but it has proven itself to be extraordinarily powerful. Wrapping up, I think a lot of us students are going to be now more interested in artificial intelligence and its development. Can you share some resources and ways through which students can learn more about AI and its actual development?
Yep. So there are plenty of resources available online. There are number of like Edacity, etc., Coursera, then Google AI, particularly AI.google in the education sector, where you can learn that how you can write down the AI algorithm.
Hmm.
So there are a number of languages like you can learn first of all Python to start with. So Python is an easy to learn tool which you can use and start writing, developing the algorithm. So online sources like Coursera or Khan Academy or in India NPTEL, etc., or your SWAM portal in India, they provide a number of AI experiential learning courses as well as number of exercises to learn that AI.
Hmm.
Then what personally I found AI.google as an effective tool to learn AI, which gives numerous number of examples and numerous exercises. And thereafter, you can use number of free sources, free APIs available to incorporate into your system. Yep.
So thanks a lot, Dr. Harish Kumar. I think your presence has really made us more aware about the real world implications of AI and how professors all around the world are incorporating it in traditional fields like agriculture, healthcare, transport sector, etc. Are there any few last words you would like to tell the listeners?
Yeah. So the last I will say that future is bright and definitely technology will do intervention into our life. As citizens need to be responsible to use that technology in a responsible way. So
Hmm.
that is what we need to learn. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks a lot. And that wraps up our second episode of the Tech Titans podcast. We hope you listeners join us again on the third podcast episode where we will talk about cryptocurrency and how Bitcoin is taking the storm.